What's up, everyone? It's Paul McComas from thepaulmccomas.com. That's my website. All the free resources for real estate stuff's on there. Today I'm going to cover some exit strategies. A lot of people don't realize wholesaling is an exit strategy of real estate. It's not like a type of investor. Yes, there's wholesalers, but wholesaling itself is an exit strategy. So today I'm going to talk about subject to and wraps. It's an exit strategy. It's very popular. A lot of people don't even know it exists or what it is. So I'm going to kind of go over it, give you some in-depth of what it is, how it can benefit you as a person who is wholesaling. Because every deal, don't work as a wholesale deal. And you're leaving leads on the table by just saying, oh, well, I can't do that price. Sorry. If you change your mind, reach back out. With subject to, you could still possibly have a deal on your hand. So what subject to is it's not an assumption of loan. An assumption is you telling the seller, like, hey, I'm going to go down to the bank. I'm going to assume your loan. I'm going to have them take your name off the mortgage and put my name on it. And that's what we're going to do. I'm buying your house that way. That's an assumption. Subject to is I'm buying your house. I'm going to take title, meaning you're going to get put on the title. But I'm going to buy your house, continue making your payments on your mortgage. The mortgage is not going to be touched at all. It's still going to stay in your name. I'm just going to be the one that starts making the payments for you. That's what subject to is. Subject to an underlying mortgage. So when you're talking to your seller, you never want to say, well, I'm going to take over your payments. Because when you say to a seller, I'm going to take over your payments, it's giving the assumption that you're going to assume the loan and they're not liable for anything. And that's not what you're doing. Because they still have liability in this because they're still on the hook for the mortgage, their credit. You're just going to say you're going to continue making their payments for them. So that way there's no confusion of there's an assumption when really you're not assuming a loan. And this is also not like a lease option because with subject to, you take ownership of the title from day one. With a lease option, you got to do something before you take ownership of title. So this is way different than what a lease option is. So you wonder, well, what makes a deal a deal? A seller who's willing to sell. That's what makes a deal. With subject to in your tool belt, if a wholesale deal is not there, most likely there's going to be a subject to deal. A lot of investors turn away deals when the numbers aren't right for wholesaling, but if they would have knew how to do a subject to deal, they could have got the deal under contract, acquired the property, and then they could have took ownership of it. Yes, they would be obligated to continue making payments on the seller's behalf, but they could have either rented the property out or they could have wrapped it, which is owner financed the property out to someone, so you're making passive income. Most time when people get subject twos, they obtain it with owner financing because subject twos an acquisitions model. The seller leaves a lot of money on the table usually with a subject to deal. But to get rid of it, you want to wrap it, which is owner financing it back out. That's where you get a lot of passive income. You're making money, and you're not having the stress of making those payments on the owner's behalf because you're cash flowing off whoever you owner financed it to. They're paying you more than what you're paying for the mortgage, so therefore you're making passive income. So one of the biggest benefits of subject to is you can do higher LTVs, loan to values. So when you're doing cash, you want to get something for like 70 cents on the dollar or 75 cents on the dollar. That way you can fix it, flip it, and try to make a profit at the end. Well, with subject to, you can get as high as 90% owed on the property still and still be able to lock it under contract and wrap it and still cash flow on it and make a lot of money. Why is this possible? You're thinking like, well, that don't make no sense if they owe 90% of what the house is worth. Well, it's because you're out you may be out a few grand on a subject to deal for closing and whatnot, or if they're behind or anything, versus if you're doing a fix and flip, you're out all the cash to buy it, closing costs, holding costs, the repairs, then you got to list it, you got to wait. So you have all your money tied up versus with subject to, you're only tying up a few grand. So you can take a higher equity home a home that has less equity and still profit off of it because you're looking for the passive, the long-term income versus the quick $10, $15, $20,000 off of a flip. You're going to build your portfolio and just keep building houses and make money that way. So you're probably wondering, where do you find these type of sellers at? Well, they're within the same lead sources that you're finding your wholesale deals. For every wholesale deal you do, you probably missed 1 to 2 subject to deals that you could have done creative financing on. Foreclosures, that's like shooting fish in the barrel. Them are great for subject twos. Low equity or no equity, them are great because they clean up after the cash buyers. I mean, they've been turned down by cash buyers because it's just not a deal. So they're pretty easy, them sellers that have been told no for cash offers multiple times because they just owe too much, but they want to get out of the place. They're great for subject to. Divorce, when people are just, they're done with the house, they're just done with everything, they just want rid of it. They're great for subject to. They want to move, they want to be done. And then you have vacant homes. So most vacant homes cost the homeowners money. You got to pay taxes. You have to have the lawn mowed, or I mean, if you don't, you'll get violations depending on where you live. So vacant homes are a great one. There's no special like list for subject to leads. They're literally within the same list that you're finding your wholesale deals in. So what's the risk to the seller to do this? Well, there's only one real risk, and it's the due on sell clause. Most people don't know what that is. So every mortgage has a clause in it. Well, every mortgage to my knowledge that I've seen has a clause in it that says they can demand the full amount of the mortgage due within 30 days. You can have it triggered based on ownership, title transfer, different insurance changes. They can trigger it for many reasons, but from what I've seen from other investors who've done subject to for decades and hundreds of deals, it's less than 1% chance of a due on sell clause ever being triggered. So that's a risk they take. But banks, as long as they're getting that monthly payment on time every month, they usually don't bat an eye at any title changes, or if the insurance or escrow or anything changes names. They just want to be paid because, that's all they care about, is getting their return on their investment. So this is what a standard deal with subject to would look like. You want a house between 100, 150K range. Them seem to work the best. You want 12 to 15K in rehab needed. You want the homeowners to be behind $8,000 in either payments or taxes with payments, or some incentive where they're behind, they take the risk of losing the home in foreclosure or whatnot. And you want them to have 75 to 80% still owed on the mortgage. Those seem to be the best criteria to get a seller that it may be perfect for a subject to deal, and it helps you grow your portfolio so you can start cash flowing with passive income. Now obviously that price range is going to get you like a porta potty or a really bad doo-doo house in California. It's not going to get you much, but you don't want war zone, but you also don't want mansion. So the prices are going to change, fluctuate depending on your markets, but 100, 150,000, that's lower end homes in most markets. Or that's not horrible as crack houses, but it's it's not that uppity either. So just adjust those numbers as needed depending on your market. So what's the keys to success with subject to? It's good contracts. That's the most important part, is your contracts. I have all those contracts you need for subject to. They're free on my website. So if you go there and you click on the contracts link on there, you'll see one that has nothing that says subject to. It's a folder, and them are subject to contracts. The next is just proper disclosure. Disclose what you're doing, how this all works. Don't try to be hiding and all that stuff, or sneaky. Just disclose of what you're doing, how it works, and speak confident about it when you do it. It don't matter if it's your first subject to. They don't need to know that it's your very first one and that you'll know what the hell you're doing. So just let them know, this is common. A lot of people do it. If they can't, no need to ruin your credit and whatnot over a house that you can't afford, or whatnot. And a realtor, you can't sell it for whatever reason. Wholesale didn't work for cash options. So, a lot of people do subject to because they need to get out of the house. They just can't afford the payments or whatnot. And then last thing is just honesty. Only promise what you can perform. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. If anything, underdeliver and overpromise. So word of mouth, you'll learn. If you do good on this one, they'll tell their friends, family, and before you know it, might be someone else in the same situation that they try to do a cash offer. Maybe they try to list it, whatever reason, they couldn't get out from underneath the house. And they'll go like, hey, I have a house, I was interested in, so told me, so can you help me out? And you may have another one. Word of mouth is a big thing in real estate, whether you're wholesaling or subject to free leads. That's the greatest thing in the world. When you learn that you get warm leads that come to you just from word of mouth or whatever marketing method you have, it makes it a lot funner in the real estate world rather than cold calling or text blasting everyone. So thanks for watching my subject to video and how you can take leads that may not work for wholesaling and turn them into cash flowing machines if you do it properly, and you can wrap them and get passive income. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do more creative finance videos here in the future, but I just want to get this one out there to kind of show all my new subscribers and followers there's more to the real estate world than just selling paper like I always talk about. So please like, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Talk to y'all later.